So last week we have I have asked you guys to answer a past year questions kan, and you already submitted and I already written. So I can see that all of you can answer lah the past year questions for input output facility. But later I will find another example of input output facility. I mean, yeah, if I find or if I found later any other example of questions from past year questions, and then I will give to you all also lah. I already written to you guys last week, so you can see lah.
Okay.
Okay, so wait, yesterday tutorial.
In the final, when if we get answer from internet, do we still need the origin? Is it still allowed, or is there originality limit?
Oh yeah, usually for FOA there will be originality check. So if you
Is there a minimum, like how many?
usually 20% and below lah.
No.
But I will double confirm lah about that figure. But usually it should be 20% and below. So if you find any other resources from internet, you can, but try to make it not looks like a copy paste lah. Because because it is open book kan, so even though we don't have book but we have internet, so a student will be allowed to find from any other sources, but just don't copy 100%. Okay, so for yesterday tutorial, Farah and Kelvin already submitted lah. Noel haven't. And then for the input output tutorial, oh, Noel already submitted. Kelvin and Farah not yet.
Oh, I just did the past year only. I didn't do the one.
Oh, you didn't do the tutorial lah.
I just did the past year.
Okay. And but for the yesterday to Noel, you already finished because I only see Farah and okay, turn in already. Okay. So we discussed that lah. Okay. So I haven't checked your answer, but I will ask you guys to read it lah.
Okay.
So we proceed with the parallel processing lah, since all of you already done with it. Okay, so let me check. I will assign which question to who. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 6 questions. I have 6 questions. So each student will get two questions lah. Okay, wait. Questions 1 and 4 will be Farah. I type in our chat lah. Question 1 and 4, Farah. Questions 2 and 5, Kelvin. Questions 3 and 6, Noel. Okay, so Farah first lah.
Okay. What should I do? Present
Uh,
or
yeah, you present lah. You present your screen
oh,
for
okay.
questions 1 and 4.
Okay, wait.
Okay.
Uh, wait. Present tab. Eh. Oh, wait. Not this one. Can see kah? So for the question one, identify how Flynn's categorize parallel processes system. Um, the Flynn categorized parallel system, it is by the concurrency in the processing sequences, data and instruction, which is the result in 4 classes, SISD, single instruction and single data, SIMB, single instruction and multiple data, MISD, multiple instruction, single data, and lastly will be the MIMD, multiple instruction and multiple data. So that's my answer for question 1. And so for the questions number 4, is it 4? Uh, okay, and the questions number 4, what are the potential advantage of symmetrical multiprocessing compared with uniprocessing? Okay, the SMP has a potential advantages over uniprocessors architecture by the performance, which is a system with multiple processors will perform in a better way than one in a single processor of the same type if the task can be organized in such a manner that some portion of the work done can be done in parallel. Yeah, typo, yeah. So that's my answer for questions 4.
Okay. Um, um, wait.
Uh, is it wrong? Because I'm
No, actually it is correct. Your answer kan is correct. Oh, both are correct. But
okay.
it is uh, very simple lah if we compare it with the suggested answer. But I don't blame you guys because this question they didn't specify how many marks kan, so you cannot
Yeah,
assume.
I cannot predict how to answer the question.
Yeah, you cannot assume how many points that you should give kan. So
Yeah.
that's why your answer is correct. For the questions one, you already give all the 4 categorization according to the Flynn, but in the suggested answer, actually, it it include all of the information that is from the slide lah, including the diagram and then the
Oh,
explanation of each of the category, meaning what is the SISD, what is the SIMD. Okay, so that's why I said I didn't blame you. Your answer is correct, but it is just not enough compared to the slide. But since the questions didn't ask, didn't give any marks, so it's okay lah. But what I can say is, um, if you find, but in FOA usually, of course, there will be a marks allocated for each of the question lah, so no worry lah. But since this is just a tutorial, I will upload the answer later lah, okay?
okay.
But your answer is correct lah. But for the questions four, you only give one advantage kan over the unit processing. But in the suggested answer, it gives all of the advantages lah of symmetrical processing, which is
Oh,
not only for the performance, uh, it also include the incremental growth, the availability, and the scaling.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because because if you see the questions kan, what are the potential advantages? So meaning more than one advantage lah, kan?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I didn't read
Hmm.
the question properly juga.
Okay, so for the questions four, it should include all of the advantages lah, incremental growth, availability, and scaling also.
Okay,
Okay, okay. So we proceed with not Kelvin. Questions 2 and 5.
For number two, identify and briefly explain two different ways of configuring a multiprocessing system and which configuration is more effective for general purpose computing, which configuration more effective for handling specialized processing tasks.
Mm,
Uh, the first the first way is the master slave multiprocessing.
mm-hmm,
It uses one CPU as the master and then manages the rest of the system and control all the resource and scheduling.
mm-hmm,
Well, like one master control all the operating system, and then
mm-hmm,
all the other CPU are slave.
mm,
And then there's symmetrical multiprocessing, which is each computer has equal access to resource, and then they determine what to run using a standard algorithm.
mm. Okay, but not each computer, each CPU
Yeah,
or processor.
each CPU. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so which is better?
And then the configuration most suitable for general purpose computing is SMP, because any CPU can execute any instruction and handle any interrupt.
Mm,
And then the configuration more effective for specialized processing is master slave multiprocessing, because the design is able to handle repetitive and continuous computation and data intensive tasks.
mm. Okay, so yes, correct. So I will not give. I mean, your answer is ngam lah, but
It's
the
from the
suggested answer, yeah. So this is from what? Where?
from the lecture note.
Ya, itulah. Because even in the suggested answer pun kan, it copy all of the detailed info from the lecture note lah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Questions 5.
Question 5. Briefly describe three of the key operating system design issues for an SMP.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is the simultaneous concurrent processes.
Mm-hmm.
The operating system routine need to allow several processes to execute simultaneously, with so many processes executing the same or different parts of the operating system. The table management system must be managed properly to avoid deadlock or invalid operation, like they stuck, like jam like
Mm,
that.
mm,
And then the scheduling is any processor may perform scheduling, so conflicts must be avoided. The
yes.
scheduler must assign ready processes to available processes,
Mm, okay.
so
So.
they don't uh, the schedule don't conflict. Yeah.
Mm,
That's the third one is synchronization, with multiple processes having potential access to shared space or shared input output resources. Care must be taken to provide effective synchronization.
mm,
Synchronization is facility that enforces mutual extension and event ordering. Yeah.
yeah. So I can see all of this is from the
Yeah,
notes lah kan.
it's on the notes. Yeah.
Yeah. But later in the real FOA, although it is macam available in the notes kan, please don't, change the words a little bit lah based on your understanding. Just
Mm.
find some synonym words to replace the original words lah. Okay, Kelvin?
Oh yeah, the exam usually how long?
3 years.
3 years.
Sorry. 3 hours.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, our AR already, our admin lah already, she said it is already posted the exam schedule in student intranet. So
Yeah.
you guys can check lah later what time because I haven't checked lah. Okay, so Noel, question 3 and 6.
So for question 3,
Mm-hmm.
it asks, with the aid of diagrams, differentiate the multi-programming and multi-processing.
Okay.
So the difference is multi-processing is executing multiple process, like here,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time on
Mm-hmm.
yeah, multiple processes. Whereas, this is multi-processing. So yeah, there are two CPU process different instruction.
Mm-hmm.
So the second one is multi-programming keeps several programs in main memory and executing them concurrently using a single CPU only. So as you can see here, there are only one
Mm.
CPU. Yeah,
Okay, I can see that you are getting the diagram from the video, kan?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this is also correct lah. But the suggested answer, because the suggested answer there's it is from the slide lah. Yeah, so you can find the answer also from our slide page. It is the interleaving and then the interleaving and interleaving and overlapping. Okay, so it is in page 14 and page 15. So maybe I didn't highlight it correctly to you guys yesterday. So wait, I share my screen first. Your answer is correct also, Noel. But I will also give the suggested answer lah. Okay, so you guys can see my screen kan in the page 14 and 15. Okay, so multi-programming you can see here kan, nah ni this one multi-programming memang it is use one processor and it means that more than one process using one processor. Okay, so your diagram also correct, Noel, because in your diagram it can we can see that there are more than one processes is waiting to be executed by the CPU kan, so it is also correct, but the process of multi-programming, I mean the process of how the multi-programming is done by the one processor we called as the interleaving itulah. And then for the multi-processing, it can be seen in the interleaving and overlapping process, where there are multiple processes and it can be managed and executed by multiple processes. It can be managed and processed by multiple processors. Okay, so you can use this, you can use that diagram to answer the questions three, and also you can use the diagram that what Noel answer lah. Okay, so Noel can proceed with questions number six. Hello.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Next question. No?
Yeah. Okay. Next question already. So, agree ka with the suggested answer because all of you are silent, kan? So I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah, I agree with because like same meaning. Like
Okay.
so question 6.
Mm.
Between a uniprocessor and multiprocessing, then identify three advantage of symmetrical multiprocessing system. So the
Mm.
different the uniprocessor process multiple instruction in a single processor. Just like this one.
Mm. You haven't share. You didn't share your screen.
Sorry. Wait. Yeah. This one. This one is
Mm.
the uniprocessing,
Mm.
and the multiprocessing process multiple instruction in various processor. Yeah. This one, the multiprocessing.
Yeah.
So the advantages are uh, the throughput of the system is increased in symmetric multiprocessing as there are multiple processes, more processes are executed. Correct, Miss?
Okay.
And the second one is multiprocessing system are much more reliable than single processor system because if the processor fails, the system
Mm-hmm.
still endures. Only its efficiency is decreased a little. Uh,
Mm. Yes. Okay, so you only provide two point lah for the advantage.
oh yeah, I forgot this one. Yeah, one.
Oh, yeah, three. Okay, so it is past year question. So past year question, I mean FOA questions memang it is a detail lah. So no worry if like it, there will be no questions like our tutorial questions that only macam very general. It didn't give any marks kan. So for the FOA, it should be a clear instruction or clear questions lah. Either it asks about three or two points. Okay, so for this one, you will get only 6 marks because the 2 marks is for uni. I mean the comparison between the uniprocessor and the multiprocessor, and then you on that one is two, and then each of the advantages, each of the point will get 2 marks. So only 2 plus 4, which is 6 lah. So you lose 2 marks there. Okay, so just remember lah, to really answer based based on the questions. Okay, so yes, your answer is none already also lah, because that one is also the advantages of the symmetrical multiprocessing. But other than this, you can also give the answer like in the questions 4 kah. Okay, in the questions 4 it also asks uh, the advantages of the symmetrical multiprocessing kan. Okay, so previously previously Farah only answer about the performance, but you also can include the incremental growth, the availability, and the scaling. Okay, so that all also can be used to answer the question 6. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, in our lecture, there's advantages of SMP kan. So availability, there's availability, scaling, performance, and incremental growth. So you can use this. But your answer is also ngam lah because it is also the advantages of the symmetrical. Okay, so we have 1 hour left, still left. So for the input output tutorial, only Noel already finished. So Farah also didn't finish the input output tutorial lah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot to say. Yeah.
Okay. So what should we do? Is it okay if I ask you guys to complete it for this 1 hour? Farah and Kelvin lah. Noel
Okay.
already answer. So it will be a rest time for Noel lah, I guess. Kan Noel?
Right.
Okay, so for Kelvin and Farah, you can please answer the tutorial input output facility lah. So we will discuss that next week.
Oh, discuss next week. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because but if you can finish but if you can finish in we should finish 1:30. So now only 12 p.m. Yeah, yeah, kan? I think we can discuss it today lah. Okay, so I give you time until 1 p.m. and then we will discuss that after 1 p.m. We will use 30 minutes to discuss it. Okay?
Okay, noted.
Okay, so we meet back after 1 p.m. Okay. Okay, so Noel pun don't I mean join also lah, after 1 p.m. Bukan after 1
Uh,
p.m. on 1 p.m.
okay. The
Okay.
same Google Meet kan?
Iya.
Oh.
Okay, so welcome back. Um, okay, Farah already turned in the tutorial, but not sure the answer correct or not. Okay, so it's okay. So that's why we need to discuss this tutorial lah, because it is to check either your answer is correct or not. So we wait for Kelvin first lah. Kelvin is not responding. So if like that, then we proceed lah. Okay. So Noel and Farah here. So there are 5 questions. Questions 1 and 2 will be Noel. 4 and 5, sorry, 3 and 4 will be Farah. If later Kelvin come, then I will ask him to answer questions 5 lah. But if not, then I will share the questions. Okay, Kelvin already here. Okay, so Kelvin, you will answer questions number 5. Farrell 1 and 2, Noel 3 and 4. Okay, Farrell question 1 and 2, questions 3 and 4, Noel. Questions 5, Kelvin. So Farrell, you can share your screen lah.
Okay. Wait, yeah.
Okay.
Can see kah?
Yes.
Okay. So for the question 1, what is program I/O, and briefly explain the characteristic of program I/O. Actually, my answer is quite simple, but I think it's not enough. But I only answer it is an instruction that produce a single input or output. So for the next question will be
Okay.
why like this? Question 2.
Mm.
The A lists 3 uses of interrupts. So for the first one will be the notifying the CPU of external events that required actions, and the second one will be user to control the computer from input devices, and the third one will be real time or time sensitive system. And
Okay. So where did
mm,
you get the answer for your questions 2A?
2A, I think I'm not remember because this one I did like last week. This one
Oh.
and 2, yeah. This one yang recently lah, this one.
Mm. Because it macam sounds from internet lah. Because
I
macam
think so too,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So proceed.
Okay,
Ask.
for the questions 2B, 4 pieces of data must be provided to the I/O controller for a particular I/O device to initiate direct memory access transfer. What are they? So my answer will be number 1, the size of the block to be transferred.
Mm-hmm.
Second, the locations of the data on the I/O devices. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the third one, the starting locations of the block of data in memory, and the fourth
Mm-hmm.
one, the directions of transfer.
Mm. Okay, so this one is correct lah. I can say
Okay.
all of it are correct because it is from the slide kan. Okay, so
Yeah.
C, tidak C sudah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so for your questions 1, yeah, your answer is very simple, and then you didn't answer the characteristic lah, kan? You didn't
Yeah.
the characteristic of the program I/O. So the answer is it is actually from the slide, but there's no there's no macam really direct saying that okay, this is the characteristic of the program I/O. No, because the characteristic is we can get from all the description about the program I/O. So you guys can see lah in our chat. So this is the characteristic of the program IO lah. If you read from our slide, it is obtained from all the briefing about the program IO. So it says here that the program IO is um, when the program IO happened, it involved the CPU. Um, it involves the CPU lah, but to be exact, it is the data register and address register in the CPU that will involve in the process of data transfer. And then for every data transfer, the full machine cycle will be need to be performed, which is the fetch and the full machine cycle tu lah. Okay, the fetch and obtain, if not mistaken, the terms for it. Okay, so that makes the program IO will be slow because it needs to complete one process first after it can start another process. So that's why it only suitable to transferring character-based data, because if it transfer like a video data or audio data, it will takes a lot of time because the audio and image or video data will takes a lot of time to transfer because it is a huge data. Okay, so you guys can copy paste this lah to your answer.
Okay.
Okay, and then for the 2A, I saw that your answer is notify. The first one is yes, same user to control the computer from input device. Yes, real time or time sensitive system. This real time and sensitive system, I'm not sure because your answer also didn't describe this can.
Yeah, didn't
Yeah,
describe.
so I'm not sure about this because there's no other further explanation about this. But from the suggested answer and from the slide, you can see this is the answer lah. There are direct answer for this at page 25 from our lecture slide. Page 25 ya. Okay, so
Okay.
you guys can see this. Copy paste lah this answer. Okay, so for the 2B, all are correct. Your answer all are correct. Okay, so for the question 3 and 4 will be Noel.
Okay. Wait, yeah. I stop
Okay,
presenting.
okay.
So for question 3 is list 3 common input-output handling methods in CPU. So the first one is program I/O.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is interrupt-driven I/O,
Mm-hmm.
and the third one is direct memory access.
Yes, correct. Okay, so B.
And B is explain how CPU handles interrupt requests from multiple I/O device. So
Mm-hmm.
firstly, when the interrupt occurs, the current program is suspended. Then
Okay.
the CPU will save the current context, including the last instruction executed and data values in registers. After that, it
Mm-hmm.
branches to the interrupt handler program.
Okay. Mm, okay, so your answer is correct also lah. But this questions kan it asks from the multiple I/O devices, meaning to say that when there are multiple requests at one time,
Oh,
kan? Mm. Okay, so what the answer is? The answer is you can see from the slide when the CPU get how the CPU can process multiple requests lah or processes. Okay, so like it is in page 33 where the CPU need to assign priority to each of the interrupt lah. Okay, so your question is how it will handle one interrupt kan?
I
Yeah, so the questions is actually asking when there are multiple interrupt because it is from the multiple I/O device. So first, it needs to set priority to each of the interrupt. I will copy paste lah this answer. Page 33. First, it need to assign priority to each of the interrupt, and then it use two processing method to identify the device that initiate the interrupt lah, which is the vectored interrupt and the polled interrupt. Okay, so it also you also need to describe what is the vector interrupt and the polled interrupt lah. So it's better if you also can include the the diagram for the vectored interrupt and the polled interrupt. Okay.
oh,
Okay. So see, don't worry. I also actually will share this answer later after our class done finish. Okay. So
so
question
the
C.
C is what is the module I/O module in computer terminology, and define list four roles of I/O modules.
Mm,
So definition is I/O module serves as the interface between CPU and specific device,
mm-hmm.
and accepting commands from the CPU on one side and controlling the device on the other.
Yeah. So correct.
So the roles of I/O
Functions.
modules
Mm-hmm.
is to recognize message address.
Yeah.
Secondly is provide the buffer.
Mm-hmm. It's
And the
provide the buffer. Okay.
third is provide necessary registers and controls.
Mm.
And last is to provide interrupt capability.
So it will handle the interrupt capability lah, the I/O module. It works like a middleman between CPU and the I/O device. Okay, so yes, correct. Okay, so questions number 4.
Uh, so the interrupt that occurs at the completion of this transfer. So
Mm.
who who is interrupt whom is the disk is interrupt the CPU. And
Yeah,
follow
so
the
this one is correct.
so B is why is interrupt used in this case? What would happen if there is no interrupt capability of this computer? So I answer the disk will still be transferring files, which does not allow the program to be used.
Yes, correct, correct.
C is describe the steps that takes place after the interrupt occurs. So the answer is after the disk transfer is completed, the disk controller will send the completion interrupt to the CPU.
Yeah. Okay, so actually even your answer is very short, but it conclude the the suggested answer memanglah panjang because it explain in detail whatever you answer here. But based on your answer, I can see that you understand the process happening during the this transfer lah. Okay, so yes, correct lah. Your answer is correct. Since there are no marks allocated there, so this can be accepted lah. Okay, so I will share the correct and the suggested answer later, so you guys can see. It will tell the meaning. I mean the details of the process that you say here. Okay. Okay, so 5 will be Kelvin.
I don't think my answer is correct.
Ah, okay, it's okay. We see first lah. Because this tutorial kan it used to do like a revision to whatever we have learned in the lecture. So there's no marks for tutorial, but it is needed for us to do revision. Okay, so questions number 5.
Ah, number 5, I really don't know how to answer the number 5.
Okay.
It's just circumstance interrupt at the beginning. I says keyboard input and then interrupt at the completion. I just write printer.
Yes. Actually, B itu correct. The answer for B is correct. Okay, so it asks describe the circumstances kan. So circumstances is another name for it is like a macam condition or scenario where scenario that can be used as a signal to indicate the start and the end of the operation. So the scenario that maybe you can say or the circumstances that may happen at the beginning of an event is like this. You can just say macam just tell a story when a program A, which is in the high priority, interrupt program B, which is in the lower priority, then control will be passed from program B to program A. So only even something like that also can be accepted. Okay, so I have copy paste the answer in our chat lah, so you guys can see. So this is like macam a scenario when interrupt occur at the beginning of an event. Okay, so if you find in the FOA letter the word circumstance, meaning you need to tell macam a story when that process when that can a story that can tell what happening at the beginning of any event lah. Okay, so for the B, interrupt occur as the completion of an event. So Kelvin answer is for the printer. Yes, correct. And then another answer is this.
Is what?
Okay, wait. 5B. So when so your keyboard itu memang salah lah.
Yeah, I didn't know how.
Okay, so the B is interrupt indicates the data transfer is completed and is ready for the program to use. Okay, so in the this will interrupt CPU to tell that the data transfer is already completed and the disk is ready for any program to use lah. So I already copy paste the answer in our chat. Okay, so guys, thank you for your cooperation. We have completed tutorial 9 and 10. So next week, we will try to answer or discuss some of the questions the tutorial questions that we haven't discussed previously, and I will find some other example of final FOA questions, exam questions for us to be more familiar before you guys before the real FOA letter lah. Okay, so bye.
Okay,
Okay,
Miss.
thank you,
Thank
miss.
you.
Okay.